How's it going, everyone? This is a short video on how to create histograms in Excel. So let's say you have some data. I'm calling this data scores, okay, whatever your data is called, and you want to create a histogram. Okay, so first thing you want to do is decide, okay, what ranges is your histogram going to be based on? Okay, so let's say we want to arrange this data so that we know how many ones there are, how many twos, threes, fours, fives, all the way up to how many tens. Okay, so Excel refers to this sort of organization as bins. It's like we're sorting our data into bins. All the ones will go into this bin, all the twos into this bin, the threes into this bin, and so on. And we can give these a title, right? Let's say we call it groups. Okay, so then once you have your so-called bins set up, go to data at the top, and on the top right there's going to be an option data analysis. Now if you don't see this data analysis button, you just have to change the settings in your Excel to get that data analysis button. And I have a video describing how to do that, and the link to that video is in the description below this video. So once you have that data analysis button, you just click on it and a bunch of options show up. And you want to select the option that says histogram. Okay, so make sure that's selected and click OK. So once that's selected, this window is going to open up, and you're going to have to input some values here. So if it's not blank, you can just erase everything to make these white bars blank. So for input range, you're going to click this little up arrow, and you're going to highlight all of the data. Okay, that's the input. Just click and drag to highlight all that data, and then click on this down arrow. Then for bin range, well, that's our groups that we created, right? What ranges do we want to arrange our data into? So you click on that little up arrow and highlight what we're calling groups. Okay, now notice when we were doing this this highlighting, we included the titles as well, right? Scores, the word groups, that's not part of the data, right? That's not part of the range, that's just the labels. Okay, so if you're also highlighting the labels, you also want to make sure this check mark is in the labels box. If it isn't, and you highlighted labels, make sure that's checked right there. Then for output options, easiest is to pick output range right here, and then you just decide where you want that histogram to appear. So you click on this up arrow, and then just click wherever it is you want the histogram to appear. Let's say we want it to appear right there. Okay, so I clicked right there, and then down arrow. Okay, and then you want to make sure chart output is checked, okay, because that'll actually show you the chart. If this is not checked, it only gives you a table with the values that you could use to create a histogram. But if you check chart option, then it actually creates the chart for you as well. And then you click OK. So we click OK, and you'll notice right where we wanted our output, that's where the table for the histogram appeared. And there's our histogram chart, right? So now if you recall, I was saying, what does this show us? Okay, so this is our groups right here. Okay, this right here. Now, I was saying, okay, for 1, it shows how many data points are in the ones category. For 2, it shows how many are in the twos category. For 3, how many are in the threes category. Now, I'll admit, I did something that's often done when things are taught, where I gave an approximate, simpler description of what's happening to make things easier to understand. Now I'm going to explain what's really happening. Okay, this is not how many responses or how many data points are ones. This is how many data points are 1 or lower. That's why you see a 2 here, because if you look at our data, there's a 1, but there's also a 0. And whatever the lowest of your range is, the lowest number in that range, it's going to show the responses for how many responses are that value or less. And we have two responses that are 1 or less, right? We have the 1 and we have the 0. Now, what about the 2? Okay, it's also showing us a 2. Do we have two responses that are a 2? No. But the next frequency is going to be how many responses are bigger than 1, right? Bigger than the first value given here in our bin. Bigger than 1 up to 2. There's two responses like that. There's 2, and then there's also this 1.5 that I snuck in the bottom. Okay? 1.5. So 2 and 1.5, they are bigger than 1 up to 2, and that's why there's a 2 there. How many responses are bigger than 2 and up to 3? 1. And that's just the 1, 3. Okay, the rest is as you'd expect. How many responses are bigger than 3 up to 4? 4. And it's just the 4 4s. Okay? How many 5s? The rest is just whole numbers, right? So it's how many 5s? 3 of them. How many 6s? 3 of them. How many 7s? 5 of them. And so on. Now there's also this category, more. Okay, anything that's more than 10, which is the largest number we gave here, anything more than 10 is going to be in this category. We do have one response which is more than 10. And that's the 11 right here. And this is just a chart showing the exact same information. Okay, how many values less than or equal to 1? 2 of them. How many values greater than 1 up to 2? 2 of them. How many values between 2 and 3, not including 2? 3 of them. Up to 4? 4 of them. Or sorry, up to 3, 1 of them. How many values greater than 4 up to 5? 3 of them. Okay, and again, because it's whole numbers from now on, we can just say, okay, how many 6s? 3. How many 7s? 5. How many 8s? 2. No 9s, no 10s, one value greater than 10. So because these actually represent a range, right? A range up to 1, a range between 1 and 2, a range between 2 and 3, these numbers don't have to be consecutive. For example, let's say we want to go by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, so we're going to create another histogram, but we're going to arrange things in larger ranges. Okay, so our first range is going to be everything up to 2. Next range is going to be greater than 2 up to 4. Next range greater than 4 up to 6, and so on. So data analysis, histogram, okay. So we have the same data. Now just for illustration, I'm going to highlight it without highlighting the label on top, scores. Okay, and the bin, I'm going to highlight this without highlighting the label on top, ranges. So because I didn't highlight the labels, I want to make sure this is not checked so that the top thing that I highlighted is treated for its numerical value, not just as a label for something. Okay, I'll pick a different output range just so that it doesn't overlap. And we have chart output checked. Very good. And we click OK. All right. So there's our other histogram. You'll notice there's less categories. Okay. Because if you look at our bin values, right, we're going by 2s. So for 2, the frequency is 4 because there's 4 responses that are 2 or less. Okay. For 4, we see a 5. There's 5 responses that are greater than 2 up to 4. There's 6 responses that are greater than 4 up to 6. There's 7 responses greater than 6 up to 8. 0 responses from 8 to 10, including 10. And then there's 1 response greater than 10. And so our chart also represents the same information, right? We see 4, 5, 6, 7, 0, 1. Right, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 more, right? Same information as in the table here, based on the same information as this histogram here, but it is arranged differently. So I hope that is useful. And if you want more videos on Excel tips, you can check out the Excel tips playlist. The link is in the description. And if you want more videos on statistics, you can check out the statistics playlist, also linked in the description. So hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you next time.